Hello, everyone, and congratulations on your entrepreneurial journey and on being selected as part of the program. The Catalyst program aims to support ambitious climate tech entrepreneurs looking to develop innovative solutions to tackle the most pressing environmental and social challenges of our generation through providing both financial support as well as mentorship. And as part of your program, you will be supported on various aspects of business growth. And today, very excitingly, we'll be focusing on sustainability. The goal of this presentation is twofold. First, I'd like to introduce you to the concept of sustainability and ESG so that you can be familiar with them. And then second of all, I'd like to showcase how sustainability strategy and ESG KPIs can essentially help add value to your business. A few words of introduction about myself. My name is Soline. I have over 10 years of professional experiences. I've spent the last few years working with growth stage VC funds based in Europe as their head of sustainability and platform. Prior to that, I was actually in your shoes. I was an entrepreneur. I co-founded a property tech company in the UK, and then I helped another company, which is a rating agency for startups, scale their operations on the British market. As part of my work with VCs, I supported various business-to-business and business-to-consumer companies in their operational as well as their sustainability challenges. So as I said, two parts to this presentation. In part one, I'd like to provide you with a high-level background knowledge on some key concepts. And then in part two, I will provide you with detailed information on how sustainability creates value add for your business and why you should definitely leverage this tool. So let's get started. What is sustainability and ESG? So let's start with the first concept, sustainability. Sustainability, in essence, is business strategy. It's the best business practices that your company will choose and adopt across various functions to ensure that you differentiate yourself, that you scale with integrity, and that you reduce exposure to risks to ultimately maximize long-term value creation. For your sustainability strategy to work, your sustainable practices ought to be embedded at every level of your business, whether it be with your HR and social practices, with financial management and in your business plan, or with your relationships with your clients as well as providers. To illustrate this, maybe it will be helpful to use an example. So if we're comparing two international brands, Patagonia and Shein, for those of you who are not familiar with these brands, Patagonia is a well-celebrated retail company specialized in outdoors clothing. Shein, on the other hand, is an equally famous fast fashion brand which specializes in producing mass market trendy clothes. If you're looking at these two companies from a financial perspective, they are both arguably very successful brands, both generating several $100 million in revenues annually, and both being valued at more than $1 billion as companies. However, one has chosen a sustainability strategy to growth, whereas the second hasn't. So in the case of Patagonia, their sustainable strategy is very much at the core of their business growth. They use recycled textile, they pay fair wages, they offer clients repairs of the clothes. This, of course, means that the cost of production is higher. And in order to counterbalance this, they have adopted sustainable financial decisions. So they limit the production of the clothes that they produce. They have fewer distribution channels compared to other retail brands. They don't practice any sales. That enables them to keep the value of their product high and to turn a profit. So they, as a brand, very much focus on quality. Shein, on the other hand, has adopted a growth strategy that is very different. They use cheap textile, they try and reduce the cost at a minimum, and that's why they're paying minimum wages. They focus on fast production cycles and rely aggressively on online marketing to sell as much clothes as possible across the world. Their business relies on sales volume, essentially. And while they do generate impressive profits, their practices are not sustainable. When you build a business, you are looking to build a brand that will be recognizable, whether it be in B2C, which is very much true, but also in B2B. And your brand equity, the value of your brand, is very much determined by your stakeholders' perceptions of its quality and desirability. Your brand equity, if you're familiar with the concept, has various components, from brand awareness to brand association, perceived quality, the loyalty of your brand from your customers. Well, if we apply this concept of brand equity to sustainability, you have exactly the same. You can build your sustainability equity by working on its various components. And these components are the following ones. You need to be able to define your purpose, the why you exist as a company. What is your mission? Secondly, your sustainability equity is your people, your practices, so how you act. Then it's about your products, your services, how they're built and perform for whom. Then you have your engagement. How do you communicate? Is it with transparency, with honesty? Do you engage with the communities around you? And then, of course, there are your KPIs. How do you walk the walk and not just talk the talk? And these KPIs will be the cornerstone of your ESG, the next concept that we will see. So, what is ESG? ESG is essentially a term, so environment, social, and governance. And ESG are frameworks with established KPIs that serve to provide quantitative goals to a business, as well as reports to various stakeholders. There are various frameworks around ESG that exist, all of them generally comprising of generic metrics, for instance, around diversity, fair wages, your CO2 emissions tracking, reduction, and offsets. And then they will comprise metrics that are specific to a business or an industry. For instance, if you're taking medtech, the number of disadvantaged customers that are being served. And these additional metrics are going to be very specific to one type of industry or business. So on the one hand, you have your sustainability strategy, your business practices. And on the other hand, you have ESG, which are essentially KPIs that will support the sustainability strategy. You, and very much specifically you, are building a business in a new paradigm economy, one where climate change is at the forefront of business decisions. This is why now, even more than before, having a very strong sustainability strategy and equity can very much add value to your business. Your sustainable practices will generate a competitive advantage for you. How? Well, we can take another example. If, let's say, we're looking at a startup that is building solar panels. A strong sustainability proposition from this solar panel building startups will attract more customers looking for greener products and help the founders access more resources needed in production, because they will have created goodwill through respectful engagement and behavior with the communities that are supplying the rare materials, for instance. Also goodwill with employees who will be paid fair wages and benefit from medical support, suppliers who are being paid fairly. On the contrary, if the same solar panel building startup has a production cycle that is highly polluting, whose customers are aware of that, then they will look elsewhere. If the company mistreats its employees, they will eventually be disengaged and they won't work for this company anymore, so they will leave you. And the local communities whom the resources are being taken away from will want to try and protect these resources and potentially launch legal action. And suppliers that your business, rely on, will try and favor better partners with a better reputation. So those are a few examples and counterexample of how sustainability can build your competitive advantage or not. So now that we've looked and defined those concepts and understand at a high level how they can influence your business positively, we will now dive into how sustainability drives value more concretely. So if you adopt sustainable practices, it will have an impact on your business in various ways. We'll go over 6 of them more specifically. So sustainable practices will help you improve your employees' well-being and engagement. It will help you increase your turnover. You will be able to attract more investors and certainly better investors for your business. Sustainable practices will also help you reduce the cost of capital when you fundraise, which is a very interesting one. It will help you reduce inherent business risks, specifically operational ones, because you will have taken some practices and processes that are being well defined. And of course, it will enable you to align with regulatory obligations. Let's have a look at each of them in detail. So the first one, recruiting and retaining the best talents. Hiring the best talents for your business should very much be a priority once you have defined your product market fits, because those very employees are going to help you execute on your vision. Great talent, of course, is rare, and they have the advantage of choice going to you as an employer or to another employer. And therefore, you need to be able to attract them. Having a sustainability strategy will help you do so, because great talent want to work on something that's meaningful, something that has impact, and they also want to be treated fairly, and they want to be treated with respect and be paid a compensation for their work. Today, if you're looking at the stats, more than 80% of talents surveyed across the world want to work for a company that has a well-defined sustainability strategy. Of course, recruiting is one element, but it's not sufficient. Retaining your talent is also important because employee attrition is super costly. And here again, a strong sustainability strategy will be able to help you. Again, if you're looking at the stats, 70% of employees that are being polled declare they consider their company's ESG practices a driver to decide whether to stay or go. These numbers are, of course, staggering, but what they show is that a well-defined sustainability strategy, one that is expressed in practice, very much can help you attract and retain the best talents. Beyond recruiting and retaining talent, another important factor to consider is, of course, diversity. Diversity is one of the most examined ESG criteria across the globe now, both at corporate level, but also for early stage ventures. It comprises factors like gender, cognitive mind, socioeconomic background, ethnicity, types of diversity. And if you're looking at the reports and the studies that have been conducted by some well-known companies, the likes of McKinsey, PwC, and some established universities, all of them have shown that by hiring a diverse pool of talents, you can drastically improve your company's financial performance by 25+%. So that's exciting. And that really proves that having a sustainability strategy whereby you're focusing on diversity in your team, as well as well-being of your employees, can boost the performances of your business on a financial level. Whilst we're on the topic of financial performance, the second way, of course, sustainability can help you, and one which is very important, is to attract clients and to keep them loyal. Nowadays, most global companies are looking for suppliers that can help them meet their environmental goals, and suppliers that respect human rights, provide fair wages, respect workers, promote safety, health, etc. If you're looking at the stats, close to 100% of global corporate procurement leaders now include sustainability factors as part of their suppliers' assessment, and close to 50% of them have specific ESG targets they need to meet. So if you want to attract clients, if you want to convert clients, whether it be consumers or corporate organizations, you need to be ahead of the curve and have performing ESG KPIs to demonstrate your sustainability, equity, and your sustainability practices. And if we're looking at some of the stats, of course, some of the most important factors that corporate organizations take into account nowadays are elements around workers' conditions, diversity and inclusion, as mentioned earlier, and the environment. Hiring the best talents and signing contracts will help you generate revenues and therefore increase the value of your business. But beyond that, if you're looking at a good sustainability strategy, what has been demonstrated time and again is that heightened ESG KPIs can very much directly impact the valuation of your business, which is ultimately what you would want to strive for as founders. Indeed, research has shown that a 10-point improvement in a business's ESG score was equivalent to multiplying your EBITDA by 1.2 times. This is non-anecdotal. It is pretty huge. So as you're building your business, you might, at some point want to sell it, and having strong ESG KPIs and sustainability practices can help you ask for more, for up to a 10% premium, according to some studies. And so to very much concretely, or make it very concrete to you, if you were to sell your business, or if you were to sell your business at a 10 million valuation, that means 1 million more in your pocket. Speaking of investors' valuation, I wanted to point out one element, which is that as you're scaling, you will bridge beyond your local market and you will start exchanging with more international investors. And those investors are increasingly required by law to integrate ESG as part of their due diligence and as part of their assessment of the business. And this trend will be reinforced in the coming years and become a standard of accounting and valuation. So as you're in the first month of building a company, this may seem, very far away, but you need to be aware of that fact. And that's why the Catalyst program is essentially helping you with sustainability and providing you with these educational materials. It's very much because as you scale your business, you'll be confronted to ESG reporting very much sooner rather than later. And so you need to be prepared to it if you want to be able to fundraise. Again, on the topic of money, you may be willing to raise with institutional and private investors. But if you do decide to go a different route, you can also raise through debt and loan. This is, very much another option. And in that case, very similarly, sustainability presents a very strong opportunity for the best players and ESG performers. Indeed, there's a very strong trend of ESG-linked loans being developed at the moment in various markets. And within a year, if you're looking at some figures, the ESG-linked loans issued across the world has tripled up to $175 billion. This is a huge, massive pool of money in which you can tap into, specifically if you're designing climate tech companies. This new money is, very much coming to the table, and they provide an interesting alternative for you if you do not wish to dilute yourself. Furthermore, this money, very interestingly, is cheaper by up to 20% on average compared to other types of loan which are not ESG linked. And so if you can show good sustainability practices that are being backed by strong ESG KPIs, essentially what you will have is an alternative to tap into money that doesn't require you to give away equity, and that is going to be much cheaper for you. The last point, maybe as to why sustainability is important for your business, is because it will enable you to build defensibility. And so, you know, we've seen so far that having a sustainability equity, having very strong ESG KPIs can build the value of your business through different ways, hiring and retaining talents, to help you execute your business plan, help you convert customers and generate additional revenues, help you raise better, more money at a cheaper price. But the point about regulation is also an important point. At an early stage, as you're building your company, you're likely going to focus first and foremost on building your team, your products, on commercialization. You might see regulation compliance as a non-priority, and this is very much a mistake. Increasingly, investors and corporate partners who themselves are subjected to stringent ESG regulations will focus on your own practices and whether they align with national and international standards. And so in order to stand out, to build defensibility against less compliant competitors, as well as reduce regulatory and reputational risks, you need to be aware of the rules and regulations that both apply to your business, but also are seen as standard practices by your stakeholders. And so from an ESG perspective, your financial stakeholders will likely pay attention to three elements: labor and working conditions, for one. Secondly, anything related to sexual abuse, harassment, and finally, your environmental compliance. So you need to pay special attention to these regulations and enforce best practices aligned to local and international standards if you wish to remain competitive and attract the right partners. Failure to comply, even at an early stage, presents risks to the future of your business, as it is harder to retrofit these practices compared to applying them from the get-go. We would very highly encourage you to pay specific attention to several aspects of compliance, specifically related to, you know, HR, labor, and working conditions. So the fair treatment, non-discrimination, and equal opportunity for all employees is very important. Good worker management relationship as well. Being able to comply with national employment and labor laws. The fact that you as a business will protect workers, in particular those who are in vulnerable categories. The fact that you will promote safety and health, as well as avoid the use of forced labor or child labor, are very much key elements to the success of your companies. For more details on the specific local regulations and expectations from your partners, you can refer, of course, to your local Catalyst mentor, who will provide you with some guidance in this and some very specific frameworks that you can apply to your business. So here we go. We, in this presentation, have seen the two main concepts around sustainability, sustainability equity and ESG. And then we've also seen 6 ways in which applying and adopting a sustainability strategy can improve and enhance the value of your business. So now all it remains for me to say is to wish you good luck and best practices with sustainability and in building your business. Bye.